Behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's golden age lies a darker side, one filled with scandal, betrayal, and evil behavior. Some of the biggest stars of vintage Hollywood hid secrets that would make even their most dramatic roles pale in comparison. From manipulative personalities to outright vicious acts, these celebrities left a trail of controversy in their wake. Join us as we uncover the 18 most evil actors in Hollywood history and the stories that shocked the world. Theda Bara. Theda Bara, born Theodosia Burr Goodman on July 29, 1885, became one of the most recognizable faces of the silent film era. Known as the Vamp, she earned her nickname for playing seductive, heartless women who lured men to their doom. This persona was so convincing that audiences believed she was just as dangerous in real life as she was on screen. Bara starred in dozens of films, but most of them are now lost, leaving only her mystique behind. Her studio crafted an elaborate backstory to add to her allure, claiming she was an Egyptian-born daughter of a French actress and an Italian sculptor. They said she grew up in the shadow of the Sphinx, which of course wasn't true. In reality, Theda was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, to a middle-class Jewish family. But the myth worked, and people flocked to see the woman they believed was a real-life vamp. Bara's films were bold for their time, filled with provocative costumes and themes of betrayal and seduction. Religious groups and moralists condemned her work, calling her movies immoral. Women reportedly tore her photos and avoided theaters showing her films. Once, a New York woman even called the police because Bara spoke to her child on the street. Theda's fans, however, couldn't get enough. Men sent her endless marriage proposals, and some even named their children after her. Yet her fame had a dark side. A man once claimed Bara's performance drove him to murder his mother-in-law. Despite her fame, Bara faced criticism for corrupting audiences with her evil roles. She famously said, "I'll keep playing vampires as long as people sin." Theda Bara knew how to captivate and scandalize the world. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead was a true Hollywood rebel. Born on January 31, 1902 in Alabama, she was the daughter of a prominent political family. Her father even became Speaker of the House. But Tallulah wasn't interested in politics or playing by anyone's rules. From a young age, she was wild, bold, and unstoppable. Her acting career started in silent films, but she became famous for her work on Broadway and in London's West End. Bankhead was known for her sharp wit and dramatic flair both on and off the stage. Her deep, raspy voice was unforgettable, partly the result of throat infections as a child and partly from her chain-smoking habit. She drank heavily, smoked over 100 cigarettes a day, and was unapologetically open about her relationships with both men and women. This was shocking at the time, making her one of the most controversial figures in Hollywood. Tallulah's wild behavior didn't stop there. She was known for doing naked cartwheels at parties and making shocking remarks to the press. Once, she joked about seducing Gary Cooper just for fun. Her antics earned her a spot in the infamous Doom Book, a list of actors considered too scandalous for Hollywood. Speaking of which, her personal life was no less dramatic. A failed marriage, a dangerous addiction to cocaine, and a near-death experience from a surgery all added to her chaotic reputation. Tallulah once said, "Never practice two vices at once," but she rarely followed her own advice. Tallulah Bankhead inspired the character Cruella de Vil, and it's easy to see why. Bold, brash, and a little wicked, Tallulah left behind a legacy as one of Hollywood's most notorious stars. Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis was a Hollywood heartthrob, best known for his roles in Some Like It Hot and Spartacus. Born Bernard Schwartz in 1925 to a poor Hungarian Jewish family in New York, Curtis grew up dreaming of escaping his tough beginnings. His charm and good looks quickly made him a star, and he became one of the most popular actors of the 1950s. But behind the dazzling smile and silver screen success was a man with a complicated, often troubling personal life. Curtis was infamous for his womanizing. He had 6 marriages, including one to Hollywood icon Janet Leigh, but faithfulness wasn't his strong suit. While married to Leigh, Curtis had numerous affairs, including rumored flings with Natalie Wood and Gloria DeHaven. His jealousy, however, was equally toxic. He constantly accused Lee of infidelity, even believing she was romantically involved with Frank Sinatra. Ironically, his paranoia drove Lee closer to Sinatra, and the couple divorced in 1962. Curtis's reputation took a massive hit after his divorce. Fans adored him as Lee's husband, but when he quickly remarried a teenager, many saw him in a much less flattering light. His career began to falter, with his comedies failing to bring in audiences. Meanwhile, his off-screen behavior, cheating, reckless spending, and public scandals turned him from a beloved actor into a controversial figure. Perhaps most shocking was Curtis's treatment of co-stars. During the filming of Some Like It Hot, he reportedly made disparaging remarks about Marilyn Monroe, comparing kissing her to kissing Hitler. Stories like these added to his image as someone difficult to work with and often cruel. Gloria Graham. Gloria Graham was a Hollywood star with undeniable talent and a sultry screen presence. Known for her roles in classics like It's a Wonderful Life and The Bad and the Beautiful, she earned both critical acclaim and an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. But her personal life was filled with scandal, overshadowing much of her career. Graham was no stranger to controversy. Her marriage to director Nicholas Ray started with hope, but quickly fell apart. The couple worked together on In a Lonely Place, but behind the scenes, their relationship was crumbling. They fought constantly, and the set became tense for everyone involved. Ray eventually discovered that Graham had been having an affair with his teenage son, Anthony. This shocking revelation ended their marriage and left Graham's reputation in tatters. The scandal didn't stop there. Years later, Graham married Anthony, her former stepson, causing a media frenzy. While the relationship was legal, it fueled public outrage and became a defining moment in her life. Graham's career also suffered from her erratic behavior and reputation for being difficult to work with. Hollywood insiders often labeled her as trouble, and she struggled to find roles as her image deteriorated. Despite her turbulent personal life, Graham's talent was undeniable. Her performances captivated audiences, and she remains a memorable figure in Hollywood history. However, the dark stories of her private life continue to cast a shadow over her legacy. William Randolph Hearst. William Randolph Hearst was not an actor, but his power over Hollywood was undeniable. Born in 1863, Hearst became one of the most influential newspaper tycoons in American history. He controlled dozens of newspapers, magazines, and even a wire service. His media empire shaped public opinion, but his tactics weren't always clean. Hearst was known for sensationalism, creating exaggerated, often misleading headlines to sell stories. Hearst's personal life was just as controversial. He had a long-term affair with actress Marion Davies even while married. Their relationship was the talk of Hollywood, but the real scandal came in 1924 aboard his yacht, the Oneida. Hollywood producer Thomas Ince was celebrating his birthday on the yacht when he suddenly fell ill. He was rushed ashore and died a few days later. The official cause of death was heart problems, but rumors immediately began swirling. Some speculated Hearst accidentally shot Ince, mistaking him for Charlie Chaplin, whom he believed was flirting with Marion Davies. Others thought Hearst intentionally killed Ince out of jealousy. The true story remains a mystery, but Hearst's wealth and influence likely helped cover up whatever really happened. Hearst's darker side didn't stop there. He reportedly paid Nazi leaders, including Hitler, to write articles for his newspapers in the 1930s, giving fascism a platform in America. Despite this, he also supported women's suffrage and paid for his employees' medical bills and education. George Raft. George Raft was one of Hollywood's original tough guys, famous for playing gangsters in movies like Scarface. But what many don't know is that Raft's connection to the mob wasn't just acting, it was real. Born in Hell's Kitchen, New York, in 1901, Raft grew up surrounded by crime. He became friends with infamous gangsters like Bugsy Siegel and Oni Madden. In fact, before making it big in Hollywood, Raft worked as a wheelman for the mob, driving getaway cars. His mob ties didn't end there. Raft was reportedly encouraged by his gangster friends to pursue acting, and his tough guy roles in movies made him a star. Audiences loved his gritty performances, especially in Scarface, where he famously flipped a coin as a cold-hearted henchman. But his shady reputation off-screen added an air of mystery and danger to his persona. However, Raft's connections to organized crime hurt him later in life. Rumors swirled about his involvement in gambling scandals and backroom deals. Studio executives grew wary of him, fearing his mob ties could cause trouble. These suspicions eventually made it harder for Raft to land major roles. Despite the controversies, Raft had moments of humor about his reputation. He even parodied his gangster image in the classic comedy Some Like It Hot, poking fun at the very persona that made him famous. George Raft walked a fine line between Hollywood stardom and a life of crime. While his talent earned him fame, his real-life mob connections ensured his name would always be surrounded by intrigue. Darryl F. Zanuck. Darryl F. Zanuck was one of the most powerful names in Hollywood. As the head of 20th Century Fox, he was behind some of the biggest films of his time, including The Jazz Singer, All About Eve, and The Longest Day. He was praised for tackling social issues in his movies, like anti-Semitism in Gentleman's Agreement and mental health reform in The Snake Pit. But behind his professional success was a dark and troubling personal life. Zanuck was notorious for using his power to exploit young actresses. He often scheduled meetings with aspiring stars every afternoon. These weren't ordinary business conferences. Visitors would often find him waiting already naked from the waist down. The deal was clear: comply with his demands and he'd help their careers. Refuse, and they risked being blacklisted. One of the most infamous stories about Zanuck involves Marilyn Monroe. When she arrived in Hollywood, she met Zanuck, who gave her a contract. But it wasn't out of admiration for her talent, it was to keep her loyal. Monroe later described the industry as an overcrowded brothel, likely referring to powerful men like Zanuck. Zanuck's behavior wasn't limited to actresses like Monroe. Reports suggest Zanuck pursued inappropriate relationships with young actresses, including Linda Darnell, who began her career with him at 15. He cast her in roles and promoted her career, but it came at a personal cost. Although Zanuck considered himself a charming womanizer, his actions painted a far darker picture. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn was the ultimate Hollywood swashbuckler. Born in 1909 in Australia, he became a global star in the 1930s and 1940s, dazzling audiences with roles like Robin Hood and Captain Blood. Known for his charm, good looks, and daring stunts, Flynn was the perfect romantic hero on screen. But behind the scenes, his life was filled with scandal and controversy that tarnished his image forever. Flynn's personal life was as wild as his films. He had a reputation as a womanizer, and his partying lifestyle was legendary. However, his charm turned dark when he was accused of statutory rape in 1942. Two teenage girls, Betty Hansen and Peggy Satterley, claimed Flynn assaulted them, one at a friend's house and the other aboard his yacht. The trial made headlines, and Flynn's fans even formed groups to defend him. During the trial, Flynn's lawyers focused on discrediting the girls, accusing them of lying and pointing out their own moral failings. The court ultimately acquitted Flynn, but the damage to his reputation was done. His image as the dashing, ideal hero was forever tainted. Despite the scandal, Flynn's career continued, but with less success. He tried to take control of his projects by starting his own production company, but it failed after one movie. Flynn remained a popular actor, but his later films never matched his early successes. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford was one of Hollywood's brightest stars, known for her glamorous roles and stunning presence on screen. Her career spanned decades, with iconic films like Mildred Pierce, for which she won an Academy Award. But behind the glittering facade was a darker side that came to light through her daughter Christina Crawford's memoir, Mommy Dearest. Christina's book revealed a deeply troubling picture of life with Joan Crawford. According to her, Joan was an abusive and controlling mother. Christina claimed that Joan slapped, kicked, and even attempted to strangle her in fits of rage. Chores were enforced with military precision, and punishments were harsh. Christina also claimed her mother's alcoholism fueled much of this behavior, creating a toxic and terrifying household. One shocking incident occurred when Joan allegedly called the police on Christina, accusing her of being delinquent. At just 13, Christina was told by the officer that there were no laws to protect her. Instead, she was warned that any future calls could land her in juvenile detention. This left Christina trapped, enduring years of abuse until she could leave at 18. Joan's glamorous image clashed sharply with the allegations, but Christina's story changed how people viewed her. The release of Mommy Dearest in 1978 sparked conversations about child abuse, making Christina one of the first to publicly share her experience. Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney was once Hollywood's golden boy. Born Joseph Ewell Jr. in 1920, he was a natural performer, stepping into the spotlight before he was even 2 years old. His talent was undeniable. He could act, sing, dance, and even play the piano. By the 1940s, he was the biggest star in the world, charming audiences in films like the Andy Hardy series. He even earned an Oscar nomination and praise from legends like Laurence Olivier. But behind the charm, Rooney's personal life was full of chaos. He had 8 marriages, each more dramatic than the last. His first wife, Ava Gardner, accused him of constant infidelity, and their fights often made headlines. Rooney's wild ways weren't limited to his love life. He gambled away millions, filed for bankruptcy multiple times, and struggled with drug addiction, much of it fueled by the intense demands of Hollywood studios. In one of the darkest chapters of his life, his 5th wife, Barbara Ann Thomason, was tragically murdered in a shocking murder-suicide by her lover. Rooney, who was hospitalized at the time, was devastated. His career hit its lowest point when he portrayed the racially offensive character Mr. Yunioshi in Breakfast at Tiffany's. The role was widely criticized and remains a stain on his legacy. In his later years, Rooney's troubles continued. He was financially exploited by his stepson, who left him nearly penniless. By the time of his death in 2014, Rooney had lost much of his fortune and left behind a complicated legacy, one of immense talent but also personal turmoil and controversy. Clara Bow. Clara Bow was the it girl of the 1920s. Known for her magnetic charm and carefree energy, she lit up the screen in films like It and Wings. Her fiery red hair and flirty eyes made her an icon of the flapper era, with girls wanting to be her and boys falling at her feet. But behind the glitter and glamour, Clara's life was far from perfect, and her reputation became a magnet for scandal. Born into poverty in Brooklyn, Clara's early life was marked by hardship. Winning a fan magazine contest launched her into Hollywood, but her rise to fame came with a price. She quickly earned a reputation for her wild behavior. Clara loved to party, and her close friendships with the USC football team sparked rumors that went far beyond casual hangouts. Her personal relationships were also chaotic. Clara had a string of broken engagements with leading men like Gary Cooper and Gilbert Rowland. She was labeled Crisis-a-Day Clara because of her love life and her emotional outbursts. But the real blow came when her secretary, Daisy DeVoe, betrayed her. Daisy stole private records and spilled secrets about Clara's personal life, accusing her of drunkenness and reckless spending. The resulting court trial humiliated Clara and destroyed her image. Hollywood didn't stand by her. Studio executives saw her as a liability, and tabloid rumors painted her as promiscuous, even suggesting shocking acts that were likely false. By 1931, Clara left the spotlight, her career burned out by gossip and scandal. Judy Garland. Judy Garland was one of Hollywood's brightest stars, famous for her incredible voice and unforgettable performances in classics like The Wizard of Oz and Meet Me in St. Louis. With her heartfelt delivery of songs like Over the Rainbow, she captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. But behind the magic on screen was a life filled with struggles that often made her difficult to work with. Garland's troubles began early in her career. From a young age, she was pressured by Hollywood executives to maintain a specific image. They forced her to take amphetamines to stay slim and energized for long filming days, and then gave her sleeping pills to help her rest at night. This cycle led to a lifelong dependence on medication that affected both her health and behavior. Her working relationships were often strained. One infamous example was her feud with director Busby Berkeley during the filming of For Me and My Gal. Garland reportedly clashed with Berkeley over his demanding style, which added to the pressure she was already under. Her dependency on medication only heightened the tension on set, as her mood and energy levels fluctuated wildly. Garland's personal struggles also took a toll on her career. She missed rehearsals, showed up late to sets, and sometimes clashed with co-stars. While some blamed her for being unprofessional, others understood that the intense pressure of Hollywood had left her emotionally and physically exhausted. Fatty Arbuckle. Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was one of the biggest stars of Hollywood's silent era, both in fame and physical presence. Known for his comedic talent and charm, he was beloved by audiences. But in 1921, his life and career took a devastating turn when he was accused of causing the death of actress Virginia Rappe during a party at a San Francisco hotel. The incident began at a wild Labor Day weekend party filled with Hollywood insiders and plenty of bootleg liquor, despite prohibition laws. Arbuckle and Rappe were seen entering a bedroom together, and moments later, guests heard her screaming in pain. She was later found in agony, reportedly accusing Arbuckle of hurting her. Although Arbuckle denied harming her, insisting she had fallen ill, Rappe died days later from a ruptured bladder, and the accusations against Arbuckle spiraled into one of Hollywood's first major scandals. He was arrested and charged with manslaughter. The press vilified him, and his films were pulled from theaters. Public opinion quickly turned against him, and the trial became a media circus. The evidence against Arbuckle was questionable. Medical experts found no signs of assault, and Rappe had a history of health issues. After 3 trials, Arbuckle was finally acquitted, and the jury even apologized to him. However, the damage to his reputation was irreversible. Though Arbuckle tried to make a comeback, the scandal haunted him. Hollywood blacklisted him, and he struggled financially. Just as his career was beginning to recover, Arbuckle died in 1933 at the age of 46. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando is celebrated as one of the greatest actors in history, known for his unforgettable performances in A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront, and The Godfather. His talent was unmatched, but his behavior on and off set often overshadowed his genius. Brando wasn't just a brilliant actor, he was also notoriously difficult to work with. On set, Brando was unpredictable. He refused to memorize lines, forcing co-stars to wear cue cards so he could read his dialogue. He was known to make outrageous demands, like asking to play a dolphin or suggesting his character in Superman be portrayed as a giant bagel. His antics baffled directors and frustrated his colleagues. One of Brando's most infamous moments came during the filming of The Score. He turned up on set wearing nothing below his waist, intentionally limiting how the director, Frank Oz, could film him. Brando openly mocked Oz, calling him Miss Piggy because of his history as a puppeteer for The Muppet Show. At one point, tensions escalated so much that Robert De Niro had to step in and direct Brando's scenes. Off-set, Brando's personal life was equally tumultuous. He struggled with self-loathing and had a complex, brooding personality. His unpredictable behavior and frequent tantrums made him both feared and admired in Hollywood. Despite the drama, Marlon Brando's performances continue to captivate audiences. His ability to bring raw emotion to the screen remains unmatched, even as his eccentricities left behind a legacy of controversy. Brando was a genius, but working with him was often a nightmare. Bette Davis. Bette Davis was one of the most talented actresses of her time. She starred in unforgettable classics like All About Eve and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, earning a reputation as a fierce, unconventional performer. Her piercing eyes and intense acting style made her a Hollywood icon, but behind the glamour and fame, there was a darker, more complicated side to Davis. Known for her sharp tongue and fiery personality, Davis didn't shy away from confrontation. Her rivalry with fellow actress Joan Crawford is the stuff of legend. On the set of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, the tension between the two actresses reached boiling point, with reported insults, pranks, and even physical altercations. Their feud became a defining part of Davis's career, overshadowing her incredible talent. But it wasn't just her co-stars who had problems with her. Davis's own daughter, Barbara B.D. Hyman, painted a grim picture of their relationship. In her controversial memoir, My Mother's Keeper, B.D. claimed Davis was manipulative and cruel, staging fake suicides to control her children. She even alleged that Davis dabbled in witchcraft, performing bizarre rituals to curse her enemies. Whether these claims were true or exaggerated, they added to Davis's mysterious and intimidating reputation. Despite the controversies, Bette Davis left a lasting impact on Hollywood. She was bold, unapologetic, and incredibly gifted. While her personal life was full of conflict and scandal, her legacy as one of the greatest actresses of all time remains unshaken. John Barrymore. John Barrymore, a legendary name in Hollywood, was known for his exceptional acting talent and striking looks. Nicknamed the Great Profile for his chiseled features, Barrymore was considered one of the finest actors of his era. He starred in memorable films and plays, captivating audiences with his powerful performances. But behind the fame and admiration, his life was a storm of personal struggles and scandals. Barrymore's problems with alcohol started early in life. Expelled from school as a teenager for either drinking or sneaking into forbidden places, his issues with addiction followed him throughout his life. Even during his early career as an illustrator, his drinking habits caused him to lose jobs, forcing him to turn to acting, not out of passion but desperation. Despite his family's acting legacy, Barrymore struggled to establish himself in the industry. His drinking often disrupted productions, frustrating co-stars and directors. His sister had to intervene more than once to keep his career afloat. Even his marriages couldn't escape the chaos. His first wife, Catherine, discovered that she wasn't just competing with his career. She also came second to his addiction. Their troubled relationship eventually ended in infidelity and heartbreak. As his career transitioned to sound films, Barrymore's voice training made him a standout in the new era. But his success couldn't hide the toll of his drinking. His once handsome features began to fade, and his health deteriorated. Known for his humor and charm, Barrymore often joked about his flaws, masking the deep pain and decline that defined his later years. Louis B. Mayer, one of Hollywood's most powerful figures, was known as the head of MGM Studios during its golden age. He was behind some of the most iconic films of the time, turning stars like Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney into household names. But beneath his polished image as a fatherly mentor, Mayer's darker side left a lasting mark on old Hollywood. Mayer had a reputation for being controlling. He managed every aspect of his stars' lives, from their public image to their personal habits. Mickey Rooney, one of MGM's biggest stars, often found himself on the receiving end of Mayer's strict rules. When Rooney's behavior got out of hand, Mayer reportedly grabbed him by the lapels and told him to behave in public. Rooney, terrified, promised to do better. However, not all of Mayer's stars looked back fondly. Elizabeth Taylor openly called him a monster, criticizing how he tried to dictate her life. But the most troubling allegations came from Judy Garland. Garland reportedly accused Mayer of inappropriate behavior, alleging he touched her under the guise of helping her sing from the heart. He also insulted her appearance, calling her "my little hunchback," and pressured her to take diet pills to maintain a certain image. These actions contributed to Garland's lifelong struggles with insecurity and eating disorders. Mayer didn't stop at controlling his stars. He reportedly encouraged staff to confide in him, using this information to maintain his grip on their lives. While some admired his business genius, many saw him as manipulative and abusive. Clark Gable, often called the King of Hollywood, was the ultimate heartthrob of his time. Known for his roles in iconic films like Gone with the Wind and It Happened One Night, Gable exuded charm and confidence on screen. His rugged looks and suave personality made him one of the most adored actors in Hollywood history. But behind the scenes, his life wasn't as glamorous as it seemed. One of the most controversial aspects of Gable's life involved Loretta Young, his co-star in The Call of the Wild. Rumors swirled that Gable had pressured Young into a relationship during the filming, resulting in a child. Young later revealed that their daughter, Judy, was born out of an encounter that was far from consensual. At the time, Hollywood's strict morality codes forced Young to hide her pregnancy, and she later staged an adoption to explain Judy's presence in her life. This scandal was kept under wraps for decades, but when it came to light, it painted a troubling picture of Gable's off-screen behavior. Gable was also known for his volatile temper and controlling nature. Some co-stars described him as difficult to work with, especially when things didn't go his way. Despite this, he managed to maintain a polished public image, often through the influence of powerful studio executives who protected their stars at all costs. From hidden scandals to shocking truths, it's clear that fame often hides a darker side. What do you think about these untold stories? Did any surprise you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.